So all guests on ZASLOW Show 2.0, you guys know, are brought to us by the official beer of the program, Johnny Cuba. Go pick up a six-pack of Johnny Cuba, your local Sedanos, Presidente, Winn-Dixie. European roots of the Caribbean soul. If you've never tried a Johnny Cuba, pick up a refreshing German lager in a can. If you don't have any of those stores near you, you want to go pick up a Johnny, you sent me a message. My man Juan is going to tell me exactly where to tell you that you could pick up a Johnny wherever you live. Remember, always drink responsibly. And, of course, Johnny Cuba's mantra, stay tranquilo. Joining us here, of course, our pal, my former co-host, Brett Romberg. Always love catching up with you, pal. I saw you responded to my question this morning. You know, today's the V Foundation Day, ESPN.
Oh, yeah, it's the That's right.
Yep,
You're right.
love the Jim Valvano speech. I mean, what an amazing all-time great speech. So I love being able to relive that speech. And I was asking, like, what is the greatest speech in a sports movie? And so you're giving me Sandy Lyle from Along Came Polly?
I don't know what it is, R.I.P. R.I.P. Sandy Lyle, but I've always loved that movie. I don't know if it's because of the sharded. I don't know if it's because of the basketball reference or the fact that, he was just such an arrogant childhood movie star and there was multiple parts of that movie, especially when Ben Stiller's dad chewed him out as well. It's just an epic thing about like the shark diving, risk taking. I just loved it. I loved it.
The scene that always gets me in that movie is when he goes back to Polly's apartment for the first time and he has the IBS and he stuffs up the toilet and starts flooding everywhere. Because, I mean, look, I've never had a situation like that, but all of us can imagine just how mortifying that would be if we've all stuffed up, all us men have stuffed up toilets, all right? Like, and if you could imagine stuffing up a toilet at a girl's house and you're on a date for the first time, like, it's got to be mortifying.
I not when I was on a date, but at a high school party, I've actually had that situation happen, and it was so embarrassing. Like I had the bubble guts, obviously. A lot of us were like laying around. The lights were off. We were hanging out. Every dude and every girl kind of like doing their thing, and all of a sudden, I just got that, and I was like, oh no! So I had to get up, go to the bathroom, and thank God that there was a window in that bathroom because everybody walking around the premises, around the house, and I could hear them because I opened the sliding window and there was a screen there, and I could hear everybody going like, "Where'd Romberg go? Where's Romberg?" Meanwhile, I'm sitting on the goddamn sink, trying to whiff and wave whatever was in that bathroom at that point in time, that wretched poisonous gas that was in there. I was trying to push it out the window, and then there was no hiding. After me disappearing, we've done it on the show before. I had to go to the bathroom and I hung out for like a half an hour where I tried to punish it. But yeah, I've had that happen. So I definitely identify with that part of the movie too.
But it's not a sports movie. Like, you think it's a sports movie just because there's a scene where he's shooting hoops?
Yeah. Did you not see him making it rain? Did you not see that part?
I mean, the first time you ever see that movie, it's almost a vomit when his face rubs up against the dude's hairy, sweaty, like it's almost projectile vomit.
There's a lot of references that like I could probably, identify with there where that could be Sherko. A lot of people have gone against Sherko, whether playing basketball or playing one-on-one football. And it's the same thing. Like Sherko had that same carpet body type, Sherko Razuli, for those of you that don't know who I'm referring to, former Miami Hurricane offensive lineman, Iranian kid, Persian, and literally covered from head to toe. He can connect his head hair to his back hair, to his neck hair, to his chin, everything.
How did they film that scene? Do you think Ben Stiller actually had to eat the guy's hair chest?
100%. I want to know how many takes they had to do of that one. Like that. And then the dripping down off of his face. Yeah, it's pretty disgusting.
All right. So I wanted to have you on today because the biggest story in sports right now, and I mean, look, I think the guy deserved to be fired, Pat Fitzgerald. But, man, if you're talking about terrible luck, for this story to happen, the slowest sports week of the year when we're in the Major League Baseball All-Star break where there's nothing else to talk about. This story comes out and Pat Fitzgerald gets fired a couple days ago, former Northwestern coach. And, did he know about the hazing? Did he not know about the hazing? So there's a bunch of stuff I want to ask a former football player. both from the collegiate perspective and the professional perspective, like yourself. So the first thing that I guess I'll ask is, what at the college level, because that's what we're talking about here, what is some of the worst stuff that you had to go through? You're obviously University of Miami. I don't want you to say anything that would get anyone in trouble. Maybe there isn't even anything that would get anyone in trouble. But what is some of the worst stuff when we're talking about hazing? Because there's different kinds of hazing. There's the hazing where you got to stick. They're making you stick stuff up your rectum, and there's the kind of hazing where you got to carry my bags the entire season. So
right.
What was some of the stuff that you as a freshman had to go through?
You're fighting immediately. It's violence, and I know it's a different time, different era. And I grew up when hazing was relatively tolerated. So what would happen is the coach's locker room was directly next to the players' locker room, and there was one door, and that door remained shut. Coaches might peek their head out a little bit to hear or see what's going on, but once they started hearing the players start saying "whoop," and that was something you could probably see on any of the documentaries where one guy starts saying "whoop, whoop," like we did it on Bourbon Street when we beat the hell out of the Gators physically, like in a violent fight. You say it when you're on the field. It's basically saying you're about to whoop somebody's ass. And the upperclassmen would start saying that like after a dinner or during camp. This usually happens during camp. Hazing never happens during the season because, fear of injury. Usually happens during camp. So, you get your ass beat, you get your head shaved. Those are like two common things.
And was it because you messed up at practice, or it happened to everyone no matter what?
No, that ass whooping kind of came at another time. Whether you're in the summer, if you're costing your teammates extra work or extra activity or extra reps, then yeah, you get your ass whooped for that because it's a selfish thing for that matter. But yeah, so
you're talking about there was ass whooping, there's shaving heads, and that seems like stuff that okay. I mean, not everyone's gonna love that, but that seems like pretty normal team kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Par for the course, man. I was literally something to be expected or remains to be expected. If you sat on the couch in the locker room, you got your ass whooped. If you were a freshman, you weren't allowed to sit on the couch. But there was nothing really like anything having to do with like sexual things that went down. Like you would never do anything naked. You never do. I would, because I'm an idiot. I tended to do that all the way into the NFL. I used to be I don't know if I was like one of those exhibitionists, but I would constantly do stuff. But in the NFL, they don't play that game. Like a lot of dudes, they're not into that for the most part. There's no real hazing that goes on other than, well, me and Incognito, we would do the taping a rookie draft pick in particular, or even for that matter, not even a draft pick. You would tape him to the goalpost, and then you'd pour cold water on him, and you'd leave him out there. Or in Jacksonville, I remember doing this. You would basically tape up and cast the freshman or rookie's keys and throw them in the cold tub. And at the end of a long day of working and that poor little bugger would have to get into the cold tub and get his keys. And then none of the trainers would help. Like they all knew what was going on, but none of the trainers would give him that machine that saw that would cut open the cast. So they would have to sit there and find ways to unravel. And so they'd be staying there until about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night when all you wanted to do was just go home at that point in time.
And what would happen, like if the player is pushing back, I don't want to do this, or he's upset about, like, does someone then go up to him, pull him aside, like one of the upperclassmen, like, hey, listen, all of us had to do this. You suck it up. We're all going to have a lot more respect for you. It's no big deal.
Yeah, for the most part, you would always have a vet or an upperclassman that would, I wouldn't say sympathize, but would let like whether usually it was for somebody from your high school, to be honest with you. That's how you kind of take somebody under their wing. So you'd be giving them advice, you'd be helping them out, but you would always do that on the side. You would never do that in front of your current teammates. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where don't say I told you anything, but just get prepared for this, which, like, for instance, after a dinner, coming back from the cafeteria, when all the seniors are already done, because you weren't allowed to eat before the seniors were allowed to eat. So they would already be in the locker room, and then the lights would be out. And the minute that freshman class would walk in, because you do stick together like a band of brothers, like that class that you come in with, whether it's Deuce 1, Deuce 2, whatever they call themselves, you better have back to back, because, once you get in that locker room, everybody's getting their ass whooped.
Now, there was all the stuff that I've been reading about what took place at Northwestern. It's a lot of sexual stuff. It's a lot of homoerotic stuff. and it's a lot of naked stuff. Like for instance, when these guys were messing up at practice, the freshman quarterback and the freshman center would have to do snaps totally naked with each other. You were a center. Have you ever heard of anything like that?
Not enforceable. No, but I used to do that as a joke to Matt Ryan once in a while, or Bulger. I would basically cut the hole out of the girdle, or I would not wear a girdle underneath my shorts. And then once they realized that they'd put their hand there, that I had nothing going on there, that'd be a little upsetting for them. But I did it as a joke.
Right.
I would never be forced into doing something along those lines. It seems like it's, I don't know, like Illuminati kind of what's going on now with all the big rich people all over the world, as they go to that one little special place. I don't know if it's in Arkansas or whatnot, and they do a bunch of naked orgy kind of things. I think
it's reasonable for the former coach to say he was not aware of what was happening?
No, man, those coaches are like father figures. They know everything that's going on that football field, off that football field. They're getting reports, especially in a place like Northwestern. I know a couple of the coaches that ended up leaving Northwestern and going over to the University of Miami or vice versa. They got ears throughout the streets all the time. You got people in the community that tell you stuff. You got police officers that tell you stuff. A lot of the times when a kid gets in trouble, especially at that high school level, whether it's drinking and driving or a possible drug charge or, assault or something like that, they don't go to the parents. They'll go directly to the football coach first. It's like that Training Day movie or anything like that. For him to say that he's oblivious and claiming that he doesn't know what's going on is kind of ridiculous, I think.
I would say, let's believe him for a second. If he didn't know about it, that's probably fireable as well.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I know. I'll give you a little nugget. Back in the day, where Butch Davis was trying to come back here to the University of Miami, be the coach, and they were asking him behind closed doors about the whole North Carolina scandal, about the NCAA investigating, about the fact that you had an agent on your staff. You either knew and are guilty and didn't care, or you didn't know and you're not fit to be a head coach of a football program of that stature. So, it's the same scenario. It's like you either are so oblivious to your players and you do not have a good enough relationship with your players that you shouldn't be on this team, or you shouldn't be part of this leadership squad that we have on this organization, or you're just part of the problem.
None of this, though, goes on at the pro level outside of like the key prank that you told me, that popcorn in the car, like that kind of stuff.
Dude, you're dealing with people with money at that point in time, and people that have money, kind of like ridiculous amounts of money, they ain't playing that stuff. Like I knew one guy hung somebody's car off of a bridge. Some rookie player that thought he was a badass that tried to go after a couple of his D linemen, because he was a D lineman himself. I'm not going to name any names, but they hired a crane to hang his car, and his prized possession was his car. So they literally tied a hook to the axle and hung his car off of a bridge, and he had no car for the whole camp. And that car sat there off that bridge for a long time.
What's the worst thing you ever had to go through at the pro level? I guess it was in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I'm not happy about my experience in Jacksonville, unfortunately. So I guess I got a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. And that one, again, not physical. I don't know. The shaving the head thing was legit. Yeah, we had to shave our heads. Oh, I had to sing. That was part of it too. Was I believe? What's his name? The quarterback that used to be out there, not Byron, the one before Byron, Brunell.
Okay.
Mark allowed me to sing instead of shaving my eyebrows. So I ended up getting up there and singing a song, which was pretty good for the rookie show and stuff like that.
Yeah, so right. But that's completely normal, right?
Yeah, like you're dealing with things that are more, I guess you could say, putting you out there as opposed to humiliating you. It's something you're sacrificing, or basically just putting you out there, putting you on blast. It's not something that's going to be, demeaning or create some kind of psychological issue for you, unless you just got stage fright or something along those lines. But yeah, those days are long gone, I think, too, man. And this is alarming, the fact that I'm hearing that this is going on still.
Yeah.
And the way that it went down is just odd to me. I when you told me about this, I thought it was going to be like, dudes getting beat up and getting hurt. Like I remember when Bubba Franks, I don't know if people remember Bubba Franks, tight end at University of Miami out of Texas. He had his shoulder separated in a hazing event, like really, really bad, to the point where he needed surgery. And
what happens? And what happens there? Like, does the coach? What does the coach do about that?
Well, imagine a lot of the position coaches know what's going on. The head coach might not go all the way up to the head coach, but Bubba, we called him Hurt Face because he always looked like he was hurting. He had like some kind of weird face to him. And Bubba was like, he's young, 18-year-old kid out of Texas, but he was a big boy. And he ended up going up to Butch Davis's office and said, I'm going home. And I'm surprised that, lawsuits weren't put into place at that point in time, because that's a possible loss of.
How was that smoothed over then?
I don't know. Maybe the guys, the crew, his teammates, maybe the people that he came in with that class. I think a lot of us, due to how hard and how physical and how difficult Butch Davis's camps were. Like imagine 3 practices a day back then, back to back, and this kind of heat. It's like I look back on it, I don't even know how the hell we did it. And then getting your ass whooped, and then getting made fun of, and then getting locked. Like I remember one dude got his bed peed on. Ugh. Like we were trying to go home for a nap between practices, and you got about an hour and 15 minutes to get a nap in, and one other dude came in and like peed on his bed. So you can't go to sleep. Like the stuff that we used to do back in the day is just, it creates psychological episodes later on in life. But nowadays you can't do that. Number one, especially with the mental health situation that's out there now, where guys are allowed to have feelings now. It's
man, it's weird stuff, man. It's really
the car wash is throwing me for a loop there. I can't believe about the car wash situation. That's pretty nasty.
It's so gross.
It's so nasty, man. Oh, yeah. Are you soaped up at all, or how does that work?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
It's probably a lot easier to just slide on through if you're soaped up, and if you don't have any soap on, you're getting a lot of friction. That's a lot of friction, boy. You're causing some fires.
Gross, man. Really gross stuff. So obviously, I mean, there's no way the coach can't get fired, and that's like. He's hired an attorney. He's going to try and get the rest of his money because apparently they owe him still about $42 million.
Now that parents are aware of what's going on and the possible humiliation, that's defamation. That's liable. That's all kinds of stuff that could go on right now in terms of civil suits and torts. Hell yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. We're not too far away from Canes football getting going. You starting to feel it? Are you excited? That sounds like a no.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I got to take me a Cialis for this to get up for this season. I'll tell you that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of the same. Again, we added a couple pieces of the puzzle that are going to make it a little bit better, probably more entertaining to watch. The fact that new coordinator is going to be trying to highlight more of TBD. I think that'll be awesome. A little bit more air attack. But for the most part, I think it's going to be relatively similar. Like I said before, I think if you were to compare it to a certain year of really cool Miami Hurricane football, like in the late 90s, early 2000s. I think it's more along the lines of the 99-2000 season where we're starting to turn now.
Maybe in order to surprise some people.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll pull away with a couple badass games. But I don't know. I don't know if we're definitely not there yet. On our way though.
Did you love the Panthers Stanley Cup run?
Man, I'm telling you, I was so pumped. I even told Ekblad. I
texted great.
Oh God, I couldn't. First of all, I couldn't believe it. Like when we were going through the play, like yeah, not a chance. And then I'm like looking at what the Heat were doing, and I was looking at what the Panthers were doing. I was like, dude, 8 seeds are pulling this shit off. Like surprising and shocking the world. That whole chip on the shoulder underdog stuff, which is really cool. Right away I text Ek and I was like, yo, dude, if that Stanley Cup comes back here, you don't even want to know what the hell I'm going to do with that thing. I'm getting a jet. We're going to go back to Windsor, Ontario. I'm drinking so much booze out of that damn Stanley. It's unbelievable. And he was loving every second.
Now look, I hope they're great again next year. You got to invite your pal if that scenario happens. You got to invite me to. I don't like poutine, but I'll eat some poutine out of that Stanley Cup. Come on.
You better freaking believe it in a smoked meat sandwich. Absolutely. But that's the thing. My wife was like, what's the big deal? And I was like, Emily, I don't think you understand. Every kid in Canada, or even Northern America for that matter, grows up wanting to be able to hold that freaking that trophy's got to be the coolest goddamn trophy out there, anything I've ever seen in my life. And the fact that you get your name written on one of those rings is so goddamn cool. And I've seen a lot of debauchery happen with that Stanley Cup, because Lemieux had it at 1 year back home in Windsor. Who's the other guy? McCarty brought it back a few times. Chelios was there a few times. A lot of the Red Wing boys when they had that badass era. And then when the Avalanche had it, Warren Reichel brought it home. I've seen some like stuff go on in the bathrooms with girls and drugs and all kinds of crazy crap with that Stanley Cup. So I could only imagine of the laundry list and the bucket list that I might have when I get my hands on that thing.
I wanted them to win it so bad, but
could you imagine the freaking Florida Panthers winning the Stanley?
I wanted it so bad.
And all, I was so pumped, dude. I was loving it.
It was amazing. It was amazing. Just so many moments, like forever moments. It was amazing. Like, it sucks they didn't win, but I'm not mad. No, it was so much fun.
Same with the Heat, man. It's one of those years where the South Florida sports could have been so shit. They could have been about it. Sometimes they're good, and sometimes it may be shit. It's one of those things where we were so surprised, so shocked. People got to go to basketball games all the time. People got to go to hockey games, late into the season, which is so freaking cool. It shrinks that gap between football. And then all of a sudden, like, if you take a rewind button and you look what happened in South Florida here in the last few months, basketball finals, hockey finals, scoring one of the greatest soccer players ever in the history of soccer. Now you're going to be moving into a really positive Miami Dolphins season.
And don't forget, we just had Final Four.
Yeah, that's another one. Going to the Final Four. Like, god damn, bro. Like, football better step up. Dolphins better step up, bro. You can't have them carrying the purse for you the whole season. So yeah, like, we're so blessed this year with the sports world. It was great. It was an awesome year.
You got anything going on that you want to let everybody know about?
Well, I'm kind of debating on doing this. There's an NFL media broadcast company that they just announced. I've known about it for a little while now, and it's backed by the NFL. It's got the NFL shield on it, and they asked me to do a Miami show. So I think it's kind of incorporating, former Miami Hurricanes, NFL players, even local high school players, because it's somewhat non-affiliated with the university. So you could like hang out with the high school kids and sit them next to some of the badasses that used to play at the U, that kind of thing. Maybe some NIL stuff.
Cool.
So I think I might get into that. But right now I'm just, baby steps to Friday, baby. That's all I'm doing. Just trying to stay vertical, just trying to stay alive.
We're all trying to get through the week, man. That's what we're all trying to do.
Just wake up early, go to bed late, and just pray that Friday comes.
Great job, Brett. I appreciate you hanging out, man. It was good catching up with you.
Oh, hell yeah. Great talking to you.